right, let's get to the show proper with our first topic. We're going to start things off with some news that may be a little discouraging to some people. And I don't like to kick off the show with stuff like that generally. But when I was stacking this show, it just kind of made sense to kick it off with this. So Bloomberg's been busy this week. We actually have a couple stories, at least tangentially related to Bloomberg in this week's episode. But the first one we're going to discuss is that Bloomberg published a report on the PlayStation 5. And essentially what it said is that Sony is going to limit the production output of PlayStation 5 for its first year. Now, when I first read the headline, I was like, okay, that's probably something coronavirus related. There's a plant somewhere that's been decimated by the virus and they're not going to be able to get enough units done in time. Totally understandable. But as it turns out, that is not the reason why there are going to be fewer PS5 units than maybe we'd hoped. The issue is that all the partners that Sony is using to help build the PlayStation 5 have started giving quotes back to Sony about how much it's going to cost to assemble, how much all the parts are going to cost. And at this point, Sony's realized that it is probably, regardless of where it sets the price of the PlayStation 5, it is going to lose money on each unit for the foreseeable future. And I think according to Sony's recommendation, it seems like at least the first year it's going to lose money. Now, that's not crazy. That's not something that never really happens. That's pretty typical when you're talking about building electronics. However,
that's typical of everyone except Nintendo, really.
Yeah, that is pretty true. And so the final verdict that Sony's kind of given us is that for the same time period for the PlayStation 4, they were able to produce around 7 million units. And they're saying for the PlayStation 5 for that same period of time, which in that period of time is the end of March 2021, they only think they're going to be able to have about 5 to 7 million units available for retail. Matt, do you think that this is a smart strategy by PlayStation?
I mean, I think it depends on what you're after. I mean, as we have seen multiple times in the past, a console selling out around launch and then not being restocked for a time makes it desirable. Certainly nobody stopped wanting a Wii just because they couldn't get one for a few months back in the day. And to some degree, the same was true of the PlayStation 3, although that came back faster. Yeah. So I think particularly in the economic situation we are likely to be in by the end of this year, a scarce and hard to find desirable luxury item could actually work in their favor. In terms of like balancing the books on that, I don't know the finances of how that works really. If that's what Sony thinks is the right move for them internally, like, cool. I don't know how you go through all the time of designing and planning this system and not know how much it's going to cost until they get back to you.
For sure.
But obviously economic realities are changing by the day here, as anyone who has been paying attention to oil futures is aware.
It's like negative.
Yep.
Oil prices right now are like
oil futures,
negative $30 a barrel.
Yeah, oil futures, not oil prices. So it's because storage ain't free. So it exposes why the futures market is hilariously weird.
It is weird, but it is a pretty good indicator of where things are going.
Yeah, but you're basically buying things that you never intend to accept shipment of, but then whoops, like
yeah.
So yeah, things are unprecedented left and right here. So yeah, I can understand maybe if some factories decided, I know it's going to cost us more than we thought because we can't mass produce other stuff that we could, but you still want us to produce this stuff, but because of how the reality is right now, we're going to have to charge you more. And so Sony cuts back their production. I mean, 5 to 7 million units of something that costs $500 or $550 is not really a low number. I would suggest that as soon as they put that pre-order up, if you know you want that thing early, if you don't want to wait for whenever your preferred Sony exclusive comes out, I think you should probably pre-order that day one.
And, I don't think otherwise, because they're saying
if you need to, but you're going to want to hang on to this thing. Also, if you decide
I wouldn't cancel it at all.
If you decide you don't want it, I bet you will be able to sell it for more than you bought.
Exactly. I mean, that's what's going to happen because they're saying 5 million units. That doesn't mean there's going to be 5 million units on launch day.
No, that means 5 million between like November and March.
So on launch day, we're probably looking at 1 million units or less. That would be my guess.
Worldwide, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, worldwide.
Imagine like you're basically talking about distributing 500 to 600,000 PlayStation 5s to all of America.
Yeah.
That's
it's
not
going to be
a lot.
tight. It's going to be really hard to find. So as Matt said, as soon as those pre-orders go on sale, and I would even say maybe if I hate to say this, I hate to encourage this, but even if maybe you don't want one, you should buy one because, as Matt said, the markup for Christmas for these things.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
again,
I don't know.
feel terrible
I don't know if
even
I would
suggesting
say,
this.
I'm not going to encourage scalping. Like that's not.
Yeah, I'm not encouraging it. I'm just.
But what I'm saying is, but I wouldn't say if you don't want one, don't order one. But if you have any suspicion that you might, and by the time they put pre-orders up, I assume we'll know the launch lineup more or less.
Yeah.
So have an inkling of what's coming in the first 6 months. If you have any idea in your head that, I think I might actually want, like, do it. Just do it. Like, if you think you can afford it, obviously. But, I don't think there's any room to sleep on this thing, considering the numbers they've quoted. It's, especially if you want one at launch, you're going to have to move fast. And it's going to be, I still don't think by November or so you're going to be particularly comfortable being in line with a bunch of randos for 24 hours overnight outside of a Best Buy.
That's another thing. Like, they're not going to be able to do console launches the way that they usually do them.
No,
it'll be curbside pickup probably.
Yeah, most likely.
Which could work. But I
haven't been at a console launch in a while because I've just ordered them and had them delivered because I don't like doing that. But
yeah.
Some people, that's like a big event for them. They like to be out there in line and talking to people. And
I enjoy it. I absolutely do. I haven't done it for a while either. Either the platform holders sent me a console for free, or like you, I just ordered it really early so I knew I was going to get it, so I didn't have to do the hangout thing. But I've enjoyed those in the past, getting a chance to talk to everybody and see everyone in line.
Sometimes I don't have a lot of patience for the cold weather at that point. And like, there's just sort of that thing of like, okay, I mean, I could do that, or I could just order it from Amazon and get it like 8 hours later.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yep. I think the bottom line...
It's a young man's game.
It is, for sure. I think the bottom line is that everyone just should expect for there to be far less units than you may have expected and act accordingly.
Yeah.
Depending on if you want it or not. And if you want it, I think you need to pre-order that on day one because there's going to be so few units that my guess is that everyone who pre-orders it probably isn't going to get it on day one. That they may be possible, in that next like week 2 shipment.
Yeah, we did with PlayStation because we camped out for the Wii.
Yep.
Actually we cheated because we went up to the table at City Walk. We're like, we're X-Play and we want Wii's, and they're like, all right, wait there.
Yeah.
But then I skipped the PlayStation 3, but then like the second week of December, I think, like Morgan found out that like the Best Buy down the street from the office had some, and so we just drove over, and I'm like, oh, fine. So I bought it. But I was my 60 gig FAT, which I still have and still works, and it has all the backwards compatibility. So that ended up being a good choice. But yeah, it was like 2 weeks later that you could get one for like a window of like 4 hours.
Yep. Matt, do you think that this is going?
There was no supply constraint on the PS3, was there? It was just
not that I recall.
I don't remember one.
It wasn't like it didn't do gangbusters right out of the gate.
No, it did sell out after like a few days.
It did.
Like, yeah. So I don't know. And I don't know if there's been a Sony short sell like this before.
I never have remembered something like this from PlayStation, where there weren't enough units for the core to get what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, do you think that this will have any impact on how it does in comparison to Xbox Series X?
I mean, obviously, we don't know what Microsoft's going to do in terms of production numbers. And you already had Phil Spencer kind of like hinting that maybe it won't be this year, or like at least preparing people for the idea.
He's started to grease the rails a little bit.
And you wonder if that's like due to a similar issue, and like Microsoft's just going the delay route rather than make a few route. You might just be seeing the two companies have different solutions to the same problem here.
That's true.
I wonder, because of this, if Microsoft might change their tune, because if you can go ahead and make a lot more Xboxing, if that Xbox is sitting there and there's no PlayStation 5 to buy, people are going to just like, well, I'll get the thing that I can get. You're going to get a few extra sales off of that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know until you know what's going to happen with Series X. I'm still pretty confident that Series X is going to come out on time. You're right. Phil did he provided himself an out in the last interview that he did. He said, "We'll see."
Yeah, I think they're just tying the escape rope to the window in case.
Yeah.
I don't think it means they're definitely going to do that. But
yeah, I agree with that.
You're going to see a lot of that, like with major corporations. You're probably going to see that with. Keep an eye on Disney for their investor call at the end of June, at the end of the quarter, and watch them prepare their investors for the idea that the parks might not reopen until next year. You're gonna see a lot of like major corporations doing this thing where they sort of lay some quiet groundwork for a really scary thing might be happening for the shareholders, not for us. Like it's so the shareholders don't panic and dump the stock, basically.
Yep. Hey, Mitch, are you dialed in to pre-order PlayStation 5? Are you pretty much just it's a done deal for you?
No, I mean, it's hard because we do this for a living, so I kind of feel like I have to. Like,
yeah.
If I wasn't doing this, maybe not. I mean, I waited a year after to get my PlayStation 4, and I feel
like that was probably the wiser choice. I barely touched my PlayStation 4 in the first year.
A lot of people,
stupid to buy that,
especially before the year turned over, because the launch games were, mostly forgettable. So
yeah, and I think the only other thing I would say is, I think the big X factor thinking about it is for Microsoft, it's because these games will run on their current hardware, how many people are wanting to upgrade? That's going to be the ultimate question. And I think that if it wasn't that way and it was the same way Sony was doing it, I would say Microsoft might have an advantage if it's coming out at the same time with more units available. But
so your point is that because you can still play Xbox Series X games on Xbox One X, and I know you can. I would not recommend playing an Xbox Series X game on the base Xbox. It can barely run base Xbox games at this point. But you're right. I mean, that could disencourage, is that a word? I think I just made up a word. Discourage people from jumping on board immediately because they're like, well, I want to play Halo Infinite, but I have this Xbox One X that I bought because those are like the prices on those are going through the roof now. You can get those for like $200. So, and they're pretty beefy. I mean, they're the most powerful console on the market right now. So I could see absolutely some people being like, I already got this for $200 and it looks pretty dang good on this box.
We'll also get to a reason in a minute why that also could possibly change your mind as well.
Yeah.
There's another.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.